Alright, so the DLC is out. I figured I might as well give my first impressions for the Twisted and Twilight unit changes. So let's get into it. Oh man, I have not looked at this at all yet. So you're going to be getting my impressions raw. See, so, oh wow, okay, already starting with the factions and the changes. I think there's another patch note for all the campaign stuff, so this seems good. And wow, okay, very few changes for the Beastmen. Alright, the more hit points for the chariots, a little bit more splash attack. Okay, very minor changes there. Bretonia has quite a bit. The mass increase, cost change from pole arms, men-at-arm pole arms, which is it's interesting since we almost never see them. So maybe they'll get used here. Heard Foot Squires got a buff, and they did by actually a pretty decent amount. You would usually see before people would take Foot Squires and chevron them up, that they would stand a pretty good chance against Longbeards. And in this case, it's like they already come with a few chevrons on them, although not too many, and they did get a cost increase. So it's sort of like CA just automatically chevron them up a tiny bit. So I'm not sure this makes a huge change. And I'm guessing they probably still don't beat Longbeards. But if you bring them up to gold, maybe they will. The Yeomen 2, some pretty minor changes. We'll just skim over all the minor changes since I'm sure a lot of other people are going through the full patch notes. The Wardens of Montfort. Oh, the Mounted Yeomen Archers. Okay, same changes as this. And I'm not seeing too many crazy changes. Fey Enchantress on foot is big. She's been in the meta for a long time. And her melee defense has been brought down by a pretty significant amount. So hopefully we see a little bit less of her. But we see the melee attack go up though. Although this isn't very important. And she also had a similar nerf on her mount. It's a little bit less drastic. So pretty interesting. I think on foot. Well, actually, especially with the on foot changes, where units are harder to knock down. I think Fey Enchantress could be a little bit more squishy here. So something like this could actually be pretty big for the current Bretonia meta. And maybe it'll slightly sway off of Fey Enchantress. We'll have to see in battle though. Questing Knights ROR are a little bit more expensive. This isn't a huge change. It only changes it's about a 50, it's just a 50 gold offset. So not too much there. We have Dark Elves, who have not been seeing too much play in the meta recently. It looks like Lokier getting a ton of tuning, and it looks to be generally some small buffs all around. Probably not enough to make him meta, but we also got the Footlore changes, which will likely have a much bigger impact. See some. Okay, it looks like I'm seeing a little bit of a trend already where they're increasing melee attack and decreasing melee defense for a bunch of lords. And oh hey, Malice too, another one that we almost never see. Wow. Okay, it looks like damage chance changed. Yeah, so what they've done with Malice is they've reduced his damage taken to basically nothing, which is pretty big, and it gives him two health bars without actually having him need to worry about dying super quickly. This is sort of just like reverse regeneration times 2. So it's really not too bad. Whereas before it would be apparently 10 times as bad as regeneration. So maybe Malice will be able to carry it out now. But I have no idea. And if you take him on foot, it can still probably be avoided for a lot of the game. Um, so you know, if he just gets sniped out early, and then he transforms and you run away from him, it'll still probably be a good counter to him. But I'm not sure. I haven't seen the damage in game, but it would be pretty great to see Malice in the meta. See some cold one. Whoa, what is this? Cold one chariot mounts. Oh, this is mass. I thought this was price for a second. Okay, never mind. Not too many changes there. Although I think I heard someone say that a lot of the like horse and cavalry sized mounts are getting mass increases, which does help them push through the harder to knock down infantry. See, there's also Crone Hellebron. Inconsequential changes, I'd say. Whoa, Cauldron of Blood. Just got like almost twice as much of its old AP damage. 66% increase. Wow, that is crazy. This was a unit that we almost never saw. And wow, melee attack changed too. Wow, this is actually a pretty significant buff. I'd like to test it out. But yeah, I've honestly never played with the unit, so I don't know how good it is originally, but I do know we almost never saw it. What, similar changes for the Death Hag? And oh, except they're reducing the base weapon damage. So okay, they're turning it into a little bit more of a, you can kill some elite infantry with it. I don't know if that was a problem before. Something to test out. Let's see, some mount changes, just some mass. You know what, if I just control F mass, there we go. We can just skip over those since they're usually pretty small changes. And we already know the gist of it. Infantry-sized lords are getting the biggest buffs, and caster lords that are infantry-sized will be much easier to snipe now. All the other mass changes won't really have much of an effect. So we got Dreadlords, minor changes. It looks like more minor changes in general. Feral Manticore, a very strong unit in the meta right now, mostly because of the summon. We're going to see if they actually change that at all. Ground static effect group changed from large to large beast. Melee weapon length changed from 4 to 6. So I'm not sure exactly what those stats mean, but it seems like its weapon length got changed to be longer, so it will have an easier time to hit. Status effect group, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's going on here, but we can probably presume no big changes for the Feral Manticore. Let's see, Cold One Dread Knights. Oh, wow, actually got a 20% HP buff. Now that is actually pretty huge. If you think about Bretonia with the poison changes that no longer affected friendly units, that was also about a 20% swing in damage. So having the same swing happen for Cold One Dread Knights means that we could have a similar effect. Like with the poison changes, Bretonia just suddenly jumped into the meta. Maybe that'll be enough for the mostly unused Dread Knights. That's pretty cool. Similar changes for the ROR. And now, let's see. For the rest of what looks to be infantry, wow, there's a lot of Dark Elf changes. Minor buffs for Bleak Swords. Dark Shards with the minor buffs. Oh, cost changed to 550. I think, what's it? Yeah, they went down from 600 to 575 and now 550. Which it does help a style of play from the Dark Elves that you don't see too often. since most of the time you usually see more of a mobile style Dark Elves. But this is an interesting change. I think it should help against dwarves too. I see the Dark Shard shields did not change in price, so you'll still have to worry about rangers. But maybe against lizardmen this could be big. I'm not sure, but 25 gold though. If you compare it to like if you have a build with 4 dark shards, that's only a 100 gold swing. So it probably isn't too bad, but it's in the patch notes and it'll incentivize people to use dark shards. So far, I'm not seeing anything super big for the dark elves. Of course, we're seeing a lot of minor changes here and there. The dread spears, hand bows, yeah, it's all slight buffs for the dark elves. But that's all it is. Just a bunch of very minor buffs. And really, I think probably the biggest one is this HP change for Cold One Dread Knights. Like 20% extra HP is crazy. Whereas everything else, you're getting like a few percent more effectiveness for your other units. But anyways, for dwarves, my favorite unit, or favorite faction, it looks like, let's see, we have oh man, we have Norgrimling Ironbreakers, an extremely good unit, getting nerfed pretty heavily actually. Plus 100 gold, a little bit less effective in combat. Oh, projectiles, even doing less damage. Now this is pretty minor. About a 1%, no, not 1%, 10% change. But the explosions would hit pretty hard anyways. So even a 10% change doesn't affect their combat effectiveness too much. I think the biggest part about this is probably just the 100 extra gold. You also see similar changes to normal Ironbreakers, which is, it's pretty interesting. I don't even think, I would really only take Ironbreakers in the Dark Elf matchup anyways. So I'm not sure this makes, this adds a huge change for the Dowie. But of course, I know there's a bunch of box builds too that run Ironbreakers. It's just all pretty minor changes in general. Now for this, Grombrindle, plus 15 leadership. That is actually quite a bit more. And yeah, it means that he'll basically be dying before he routes. Before he would be brought down to pretty low HP. And he'd be routing at about between 30% and like 10% and 5% HP, I'd say. With this leadership buff, you're going to need to do a lot more to get Grombrindle to route, which I think is pretty cool. It's thematic for him. And yeah, it's a pretty nice buff, although he would usually be sticking around to the late game anyways, and then killed off by like a Manticore or something. So it's not the biggest thing in the world. However, oh man, we're seeing actually a lot of huge HP buffs today. At least the second one, where we see he gets 800 more HP. Now that is additional hit points. Wait, what does it mean by additional hit points? Did Grombrindle have this much HP before? Seems like quite a bit for a Foot Lord. Maybe I'm just going crazy though, but yes, 6,600 HP. That is more than half of a mammoth, which is quite a bit. It means you can take multiple hits from Wulfric without dying, where you would have died before, and you also won't route. Yeah, wow. This is pretty big, especially since we see Grombrindle pretty often. There's also the minor change of armor and added unbreakable. Oh, oh, I see. Never mind. Screw the leadership changes. He's unbreakable now. Okay. Wow, that's actually pretty big, I will say. But it's, of course, it's not the hugest swing in the world that Grombrindle is unbreakable. Mostly because you would usually see him at the end of the game anyways. people weren't exactly trying to snipe him, but you can be a little bit more aggressive with him. Not that I think that's really possible. He is a Foot Lord. He'll have a hard time catching anything. But the buffs are welcome for sure. Ungrim Iron Fist getting melee defense, a melee defense increase, and a melee attack decrease. Now he already had an extremely high melee attack, so I think this has a much smaller impact than the melee defense change. Going up to 50 actually brings him closer to what's it? Much higher than Longbeards, I think. I think Longbeards hover around 40. I'm not sure, but 50 is definitely a nice place to be. Let's see, and then aside from that, minor changes. Giant Slayers. Also some pretty minor changes, except actually, what am I seeing here? Base weapon damage changed to 15. And AP damage changed to 35. So they do a little bit more damage versus Chaff. That's not exactly too big. They did get 10% more HP though, which that's okay. I like. Let's see, does 10% more HP really make a difference though? I'm not sure. Giant Slayers haven't been very prevalent in the meta, mostly because regular Slayers do just as much damage and are harder to kill because of their whirling axes trait, which effectively gives them shields. So I'm not sure this really adds Giant Slayers to the meta, and I'd say we probably won't see them unless there's a Slayer nerf somewhere down the line. Let's see, more changes to blasting charges. Let's see, base explosion damage reduced by 15%-ish. Okay, that yeah, I'd say that's pretty good. Although I think walking right into blasting charges will still be extremely punishing. At the very least, yeah, at the very least, it'll do a little bit less damage. I'd say this probably has the biggest effect on White Lions, since they already have that the missile resist. But yeah, I probably not a huge change. I'd say. Let's see. Miners charge bonus reduced, so nothing. It's a charge bonus for Dowie is definitely not very important. Don't see them charging into combat too often. Usually they're holding a line. But hammers too. Actually, okay. It looks like just a whole bunch of charge bonus changes. Peak gate guard. Also some very minor changes. And lots of minor changes all around. All around. And now we're also seeing just a bunch of tweaks to leadership being okay, really just being averaged out to about 64. Okay. Yeah, just a bunch of leadership moved around a little bit. I don't think that's too big. It's two leadership. Ulthor's Raiders. All right. All pretty minor changes. Where are the big swingy changes that I'm looking for? Gyrocopters? Oh, actually, no. Pretty minor too for gyrocopters. Bolt throwers won't be staying as long as they used to, though. 75 down to 64. This is probably the biggest leadership change for the Dowie anyways, but it's not that important. If your bolt throwers are running, they're probably dead anyways, so yeah, nothing too exciting for the Dowie, sadly. Except for Grombrindle being unbreakable. That's interesting. And it makes me wonder what Ungrim has over Grombrindle at this point. Maybe I guess it's just a bit cheaper. Now Empire, wow. Oh my gosh, Halberdiers changed to 550. That is huge. Absolutely huge. They lose their charge defense all and gain charge defense against large. Now, before you would almost never see Halberdiers. it would always be spearmen. And that's because you could almost take 2 spearmen instead of a halberdier unit. And you know, the charge defense versus all wasn't very important. If you wanted to fight infantry, you'd take something like swordsmen, Sigmar sons, and so on. But with a change like this, I'm pretty excited for this. You get a little bit of AP anti-large. Maybe you'll replace some spearmen with them. Oh man, I'm just trying to think. The thing is, they die like spearmen to a bunch of wind spells, and just having the quantity could be more important. But that is a huge difference. So hopefully we see them in the meta now, mixed in with spears. I think this is definitely a significant enough change. Wow, okay, that's huge. But other than that, there aren't any big changes for the Empire. Yeah, really just halberdiers. But definitely a winner. Yeah, aside from that, minor changes. Greenskins, however, oh my gosh, they got a lot of changes. Now, let's see. It looks like 8 peak loonies are more expensive. Yeah, you would always see these guys picked. That makes sense. A 50 gold change for greenskin builds. Crimson Killers reduced in cost. Now, these guys actually traded very well in a straight up fight, but you never really see them in the meta since a lot of damaging spells would just tear them apart. Let's see. Black Orc Big Boss also changed. In combination with the 8 peak loonies means that like at least half of the greenskin builds you see will be will have a cost change of 50 gold. For Black Orc Big Boss on the War Boar, it's the same change, but whoa, missile block chance down to 35%. Now this is big. Black Orc Big Boss, of course, is very important to keep Stone Trolls alive. And this means that he'll die a lot faster to missiles. What is this? Why is there also a random Glom the Paunch here? All right. Looks like we have a typo in the patch notes, but that's fine. Melee weapon length also changed. This is sort of like the Manticore change. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but maybe it means that if he's like dueling with the monster, this extra length will mean that he'll actually be able to get his hits off. Like, I think there was something before where mounted lords would have a hard time hitting stuff like Kolek. I would assume that's what this is, but we'll pass over that for now. A minor nerf to Stone Trolls, but honestly, yeah, pretty small. I think we'll still be seeing them in the meta, although you can counter them by sniping out the Black Orc Big Boss a little bit easier. Not to mention greenskin builds are just generally more expensive, which helps out for sure. Forest Goblin Rider Archers got a slight HP nerf, but not huge. And oh wow, what is this? Knockdown Ignore changed. Okay, so apparently some orc units had some extra knockdown ignore chance that I didn't know about. But I don't think that's too big, especially with the new update. Let's see. Oh, what the? Melee building damage. With the spider hatchlings, what does it mean by building damage? They could do damage to buildings before? Alright, we'll ignore that. Go over a lot of the minor changes, especially the campaign ones. The Swamp Thing's slight melee attack change will not be big. And Goblin Wolf Rider Archers do get a huge increase in price though. Up 25 gold. Now, alone, I would say that isn't too big, but combined with the rest of the greenskin, nerfs, you actually see about we see like 100 gold change there. And you usually see in a lot of competitive builds, 4 or 5 skirmishers. And most of them will be Wolf Rider archers. So with that, you see almost like 150 gold swing, which I do suspect will be a pretty nice kick in the face to the greenskins. It will hopefully bring them down a small notch in the meta, which I am excited to see. What is this? Entity projectile intersection radius changed from 80% to 90%. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, so we'll skip that too. Man, these patch notes are long. We'll try to pick up the pace a bit. Let's see, nobles are nerfed once again. That's nice. Are the hitboxes getting smaller for these guys? I'm not sure. Let's see, eagle, also pretty minor stuff. Entity radius. Yeah, so it's getting a little bit bigger. So it looks like the mounts are getting a little bit bigger, but the projectiles are getting will have a little bit of a harder time to hit. So I think that probably balances out. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it will mostly account to very minor stuff, if anything at all. Oh, Ilthamar chariots. Wow, getting a cost change to 1,300. That puts them in the same place as the lion chariots. So you'll be choosing between those two, really. Now, I think we are actually seeing lion chariots being picked more often now that noble chariots count as single entity monsters. So this will probably push that even more in that direction. But not a huge impact for high elves, I'd say. We haven't seen too many nobles in general recently. Much more lion chariot action. Let's see, outside of that, let's see, just general changes. But I'm not really seeing anything that blows my mind. A little bit of extra HP for archmages in general, which will help them out. But yeah, not exactly huge. Oh, charge bonus is reduced on them though. But yeah, okay. These are small beans. Want to see some bigger number changes. And yeah, it's a whole bunch of tweaks. On the whole, it looks like melee defense is reduced. Melee attack increased. Yeah, a lot of melee defense reduction, and a lot of increases to melee attack, which I would say is a bad thing. A lot of the time you're using a charge bonus to make sure that you land the hits, and your melee defense so melee attack doesn't matter very much, at least for high elves who are cycle charging. But melee defense means that you'll be dying a lot quicker. So I'd say generally a nerf for high elves. And yeah, that's about it. But pretty minor. Not as much as greenskins for sure. Lizard men. Let's see. Arc of Sotek ability. We don't need to look at that. Solar engine. Very common in the meta. And it is now... Looks like they changed the projectile calibration area. Let's see. I think that means that they'll aim and shoot a little bit better. But that's about it. So no changes for them, essentially. Nakai, however, very unused in the meta. We're now seeing charge bonus, additional hit points. Okay, so Nakai gets a little bit more HP. Good for him, but it's not a whole ton of HP, just like 400. Not nearly as much as Grombrindle. Along with that, we got tic-tac-toe, minor stuff. Oh man, is there anything that's not minor here? Drop sphere of Tepak. A little bit more damage. Okay, that is yeah, not well, I guess it is an AoE attack. So we are seeing about 20% more damage. I guess it's okay, but you only use it once per battle. So not crazy. And yeah, just a bunch of minor HP changes all around. But I don't believe we are seeing much else on the Lizardmen side. And yeah, nothing there. Okay, so nothing too much to get excited about. We got some neutral changes. Gotrek is more expensive now. We've seen him a lot in the meta, and this is a welcome change. Basically, Britonia, the main carrier of Gotrek, will be getting a nice nerf there. That, along with the Fey Enchantress, means that they might get knocked down a notch in the meta. For Norska, they've been hovering around in a pretty good place for a while now. And let's see, okay, not much. I'm not seeing too much here, actually. There are changes to the Feral Manticore, but it looks to be the same as earlier. Although it says cost reduced from 525 to 500. Were Feral Manticores this cheap before? What's going on here? Manticores were 800, right? I'm not sure exactly what happened here, but if Norska's Manticores cost 500, that would be pretty big. Looking around, I'm not sure. I'll have to look in game, but this seems like a bit much. I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's see. For Skaven, though, we have actually not a whole ton of changes. Mostly, they'll be affected from the DLC. We have, actually, quite a bit more HP on Skaven Slave Slingers, which I'd say is, it's okay, although a little bit deceptive, since they'll be routing long before they lose all their HP. So, maybe just like 200 extra HP. It's not huge, for them anyways. Oh wait, no. No, this is for the Warlord Bonebreaker. Did someone screw up the patch notes? It seems like there are some things that are just extremely off. So, Skaven Slave Slingers got a nerf to melee defense. And the Warlord on Bonebreaker got a little bit of an HP buff. So, probably not enough to see them, even if their cost does get changed. It does put them at a pretty cheap price. But you'll still have to take a caster after this. And they don't really contribute very much a lot of the time. You almost never see them in the meta. So I'd say we will continue to not see them. After that, wow, huge mass changes for the Footlords, as is expected with this update. But other than that, we got basically nothing. Yeah, Skaven remain mostly the same. Something about Ixcha's triads getting changed around, but probably inconsequential. For Tomb Kings, let's see. Yeah, the same thing. Melee attack increased, melee defense decreased. So this looks to be like a pretty consistent thing for all of the large units in the game, where they'll all just be getting a lot harder to, a lot easier to kill, but only in melee, which I'd say that's pretty good. In actual monster duels, they'll perform the same. But if you surround them with something like spear infantry, you'll be seeing monsters die faster. And with the current meta, where we see tons of monsters, this is good. I like it. And yeah, that has huge sweeping changes for the Tomb Kings roster, as they do rely on their monsters. Now, okay, here we go. Very important for me. Vampire Coast. Animated Hulks. got a speed buff, which is interesting. Although I still don't think they really fill a niche. This might put them as one of the faster monstrous units in the Coast roster. But if you want something fast, you usually take Sirens. And even though Sirens are weak to magic damage, animated Hulks are weak to about everything else. And without any buffs to any of their survivability stats, I still don't think we'll see them. For zombie gunnery mobs and bombers, we see similar changes all around, where the number of men is being brought down to 120. Now, I said earlier, a 20% change is pretty big and can shake things up. And a change like this is absolutely huge for the DPS. But hopefully we see some other changes. So for the pistol mob, it looks like they reload a little bit faster. Missile spread is changed, so they're more accurate, although pistols were already hitting almost 100% of the time anyways. But missile damage has been changed. Okay, so damage-wise, I guess they'll probably perform about the same, but they will die a bit faster, which is welcome for sure. This is more than a 20% HP difference. And, you know, Coast has been very strong, so this does make sense. For bombers, we see a cost increase, an explosion damage nerf. Yeah, especially to the AP. And yeah, they are changing the HP too, so this is actually much less impactful. It does mean, well, anyway, any heavy hitting AoE spells would probably do just as good. Any monsters that overkill will probably do just as good. This is definitely a nerf for my poor Coast, but yeah, in terms of the actual like changes to unit size, it doesn't matter as much since we see buffs and damage for the pistols and the handguns too. But let's see. What does this mean? Missile damage changed. Okay. Yeah, what does this mean? I think the handguns and the pistols are probably in the same place, but bombers costing 450 means that you probably don't want to take 4 of them at this point. That's about a 200 gold difference, which hurts quite a bit. It's sort of like the changes that we saw to what's it? To greenskins in terms of gold value lost. But, you know, sticking with 2 bombers is still good. It's not like they won't do any damage. They'll still do tons of damage. Just a little bit less to armored, I guess. And actually, well, they have fewer missiles too. And they didn't get a buff to damage. So, bombers, yeah, bomber effectiveness is definitely down quite a bit, getting hit on multiple fronts. Which, you know, I'm sure most people are cheering. And honestly, I like my handguns anyways. Black Spot getting similar changes to the handguns. And hand cannons. Now, here we go. This one's big. Hand cannons. Very well known for, you know what, not even well known at all. You see them so little, and they're not even a great meme unit. So I'm looking to see some buffs here. At least some changes to make them worth taking over handguns. Let's see, hit points have changed, fewer models. Let's see, they get a little bit more reload skill. Missile damage, here we go. They do 25% more damage. Which is, it just counteracts the effects of the smaller unit size, so that's not big. But the calibration distance is changed from 35 to 45, and this actually is pretty big. Since even it would be really hard to line up your shots with them. And I think if I remember correctly, they would tend to shoot a little bit late, or maybe it was early. But if they can actually lock onto their target a bit faster and get 2 volleys off before their target gets to them, then this is a big change. If not, then it's not really a big change. And speaking of large changes, Depth Guard, another unit that we rarely see, is getting very minor buffs. I don't think that will put them in the meta, but they've been good against Tomb Kings before, or at least decent, and against Vampire Counts too, so at least they'll be a little bit better there. But yeah, all in all, very minor stuff. Luther Harkin on foot too, also lost some ammunition. Same with In the Sky. But all this really means is that at most, you'll just have to turn off fire at will if you're near infantry. And then you just turn it on when you end up fighting lords. And after that, yeah, he's basically the same. Yeah. But carronades increase in cost to 750. Means that we get a total gold increase for the coast of probably a few hundred. Although I personally don't like to take carronades on ladder, Vampire Coast will be a lot easier to deal with. So that's nice at least. Vampire Counts, oh actually we get a huge ton of cost changes. Looks like corpse carts cost a lot less for necromancers. And that's it. Not very exciting for them. Although actually, it's a necromancer on a normal cart. Yeah, this isn't very big. You usually don't take a necromancer on a corpse cart. I think it's just because it gets sniped pretty easily, and you don't really want to bundle up your necromancer with it. So I don't think we'll be seeing too much of that. See, there's also Vlad, who gets a lot more AP damage and causes terror. And is a little bit more expensive to make up for it. So he's just sort of a slightly different unit at this point. But Footlords are buffed, and maybe we'll see him. Although I did see, the terror in the late game means that he'll be, he's a really nice final unit at the end of a battle, and then he'll just be able to terrify off just hordes of infantry. A lot of the time we see Dragon Lords. Especially because of how good they are at breaking blobs. So I'm not sure if we'll see Vlad in the meta. Okay, Warriors of Chaos now. Forsaken changes, but all minor. Aspiring Champions, these guys were pretty bad before. And they were a lot tankier. So I'll give them that. But they still don't do a ton of damage. And I think they'll probably still be pretty bad. So a little bit too bad for them. Although, what? 20% more HP. This is the same. It's in line with the Dread Knights, that HP difference. But Aspiring Champions are just bad. And I don't think it's because they weren't tanky enough. So yeah, we probably won't be seeing them, sadly. Feral Manticore for Chaos. Basically no changes. And Kolek getting the same monster treatment, less melee defense. That's just really nice in general. In fact, against dwarves, I'd say this can be pretty big. See a lot of monsters just stuck in a unit of dwarf infantry going towards the late game. And this means that stuff like Dwarf Warriors or Dwarf Warrior Great Weapons will have a much easier time chopping down these big monsters. The Dragon Ogre Shaggoth gets similar changes too. Sigvald gets Perfect Vigor, which is pretty big actually. It means he gets a buff to armor, melee defense, and melee attack, I think. Which is really nice in the late game when all of the units get exhausted. That along with his healing means that maybe we'll actually see him in the meta now. Because yeah, perfect vigor is just a hidden mechanic that has a huge effect on your units. As for everything else chaos related, not too much, except for Chaos Marauders, who are cheaper, which helps them out in the Dowie matchup. So at least Chaos doesn't have to worry as much there. But otherwise, nothing too big. Nothing too big. Wood Elves. Looks like they got not much. Not much at all, just skimming through it. The Glade Lord got a 360 firing arc on an eagle. But not, oh, on a dragon too. So this is nice. If she's running away from things, she'll be able to fire. And I think more importantly, you can move up to the enemy front line and sort of dodge around while firing on key targets. This isn't something that you could do before. So this means that you'll be able to kite with her a little bit better and get a little bit of damage on those lords. I think this is actually a pretty nice change for Wood Elves. Like, I think this is like a very nice hidden good strong buff for them. Durthu gets Vanguard. More of a gimmick than anything else. But since, you know, trees just move so slowly, even if you do Vanguard, your opponent can probably reposition. But, you know, there are some rush strategies, like where you Vanguard a bunch of Dryads. And taking Durthu there would actually be pretty good. See, Spell Singers got minor changes. And let's see if I can find anything actually interesting here. Wood Elves have a little bit more gold for Spell Singers on Eagles. You'd see them pretty often, so that's a nice change. But if I am correct, whatever, we'll go to it later. Orion, it's what's it? Missile resistance change down to 0, and physical up to 20%. That means he'll be just as easy to kill with missiles, but much harder to kill in melee. I guess that's an interesting change. And other than that, yeah, that's it. Okay, so no, not really too many big changes for Orion. There's also the changes where he's a little bit more susceptible to magic. Well, actually, never mind. If you have magic damage, Orion's just the same as before. I don't think this is a huge change for him. As for Treekin, I believe they got a little bit more AP. And we can see here, yeah, they got AP up to 26. Oh, and base weapon damage up to 60. So they'll actually perform much like other monstrous units, but they still won't be doing nearly as much damage. But you know, this is actually a pretty big change. Like this is 50% extra weapon damage for the normal damage, and actually, yeah, almost 50% AP too. So Treekin may be the new OP in the meta. Meanwhile, there are the Firebark Elders. Get similar changes. Treemen who get Vanguard. I think you'd rather take Durthu though. And Dryads, who are a lot faster now. This is pretty big. Just in general, you see Dryads rush. You'll be able to maneuver them a lot better too. So yeah, I think this is just really nice. Wood Elf's getting a ton of buffs in general. I feel like probably be in a pretty good place in the meta. Meanwhile, Branch Wraith, just like the Dryad, moves faster, and Way Watchers get a cost increase up to 1,200. Now this is offset by the Eagle Mount change on the Spellslinger. So, and you know, Wood Elves are getting a lot of buffs too all around, especially like stuff like Dryads. I think that more than makes up for the downside of taking Way Watchers. In total, if you take 3, it'll only be a 150 gold deficit. So not big at all. Hawkeyes of Jakira get a similar change. And Deepwood Scouts got increased accuracy. So actually, that's pretty nice. Yeah. Wow, okay. So Wood Elves in general, I've gotten a nice buff all round, which is exciting to see, especially for the tree guys. It's not like direct changes, but it makes them more maneuverable. Stuff like Vanguard mean that tree men will be able to get into the fight at about the same time as the rest of the infantry. And faster speed for Dryads is just welcome in general. They'll be able to run down units now, I think. Let's see, after that, just a bunch of abilities for different lords. But let's see, but I don't think this will have too much of an effect. Except for Gitsnick. Got a apparently a huge recharge time change, unless this was 150 before, I'm not sure. The Axe of Dargo changed from changed similarly with a longer duration. Alright, I'll just continue to skim through this to see if I find anything useful here. Remove recharge in melee condition. Oh, actually, okay, so one thing that's interesting. The recharge in melee was really janky for a lot of characters, and getting that removed is extremely nice. It means that we'll be able to see the abilities more often. But we haven't really seen the effect of these melee footlords yet, so no comment. Witch Brew, however, is going to do a lot more AP damage in melee, which is extremely big. Because yeah, now it's just a general 50% damage buff, as opposed to before, where it'd probably be much less. But the duration is shorter, so I guess that balances out. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not seeing a whole ton for in the form of changes here. On Karstein Ring, it seems like they're tuning a lot of different abilities, though. What is the general trend, however? Grombrindle has no fear. Duration decreased. Rip Grombrindle. But oh my gosh, it gives 24 melee defense. Whoa, wait. Oh my gosh. Jeez. Oh my gosh, this is huge. Oh my gosh, that's absolutely huge. Okay, I think dwarves are OP now. Wow, that's crazy. Oh my gosh, I need to tell my client about this. That's huge. Oh, wait a second. It's not map wide? Oh, it's not map wide. Oh. Oh man, is it still only one use? Then that'd be a lot less exciting. Oh man, oh no, I was so excited. Never mind, dwarves are fine, They're about the same as before. Some runes have been changed. Rune of Oath and Steel now targets friendly units and affects units around the target. Oh, that's cool. It's a targeted ability and a buff. I think that's nice. Same with Rune of Negation. Oh man, this is where it's at. These are the big changes I've been looking for. The dwarves actually getting one of the things before, because you have foot lords or very slow lords with all of these cool abilities, you'd have to stay really close together to get their effects to work properly. But with stuff like this, it means that if you see a pendulum coming your way, you'll be able to throw down a rune of negation and block 40% damage, which is like that's huge, right? Just at an instant, you can give plus 44% damage resistance, like ward save. It means that if you're really quick on your rune casting, that you'll be able to save units extremely quickly. Wow. Okay. So I think Dowie. I think in general, Dowie are going to be in a pretty good place when with this new update. Story for Necrotect. Minor changes. Hold the line for Empire. Cost is a lot more expensive now. Rip Empire, but hey, you got cheap halberds. If you take one halberd unit, then you make up for the cost. Let's see. Other than that, what is this? Whoa. So a lot of the abilities that change miscast chance have been bumped up by about double for all of them. And the reduction is also changed. Now miscast damage can be pretty big, and the fact that it's reliable now means that it's actually pretty good. Like for example, if you have Malekith and you jump on top of the Fey Enchantress, she will 100% of the time miscast, and any healing spells that she does will be counteracted, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Warzag's Revenge too. Nice. Yeah, I think this is really good in general. It gives some nice counterplay against casters. We'll have to be a lot more careful and aware when these are brought in the game. Let's see what changed phase blocker period. Okay, I don't know what this means, so we'll skip over that. And last but not least, oh man, it's been an hour. Let's go over some spells. Transformation of Kadan. Winds of Magic cost increased is nice. You can't spam it back to back as often. So this is definitely an effect that you will see, that you'll feel in game. But to counteract it, people won't be taking Flock of Doom. And if you're playing the long game and you like to space out your transformations of Kadan, then you won't have too much of an effect on you. So I think it'll still be in the meta. Drowned Dead upgraded, +1 Winds of Magic. Not really too big at all. But nearing the end of the game, it means you might be down 1 to heck. Combined with the other Vampire Coast nerfs, could be interesting. Pestilent Birth, increase Winds of Magic cost. Well, Skaven, I actually find when I play them, I have a lot of extra magic. So this won't be affecting me. But you know, it's nice. Skaven are getting stronger. So nerfing one of their older, more popular spells is nice. Same with Vermintide too. And with these two combined, you'll probably be down a Vermintide once you get closer to the end of the game. Burning Head. Wow, what is this? Burning Head got a huge nerf. Base Vortex damage from 24 to 14. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Coast is back in business. So Burning Head is what you would see to kill zombies against Vampire Coast. And now it won't be able to kill handguns even if you land it directly on top of them. The Vortex start radius goes from 5 to 7, and the goal radius goes from 5 to 7. So I think that means it's a little bit larger. But the Vampire Coast infantry are a little bit tankier, at least the guns. So I think this is pretty nice. And Vampire Coast is back in business. Meanwhile, Burning Head upgraded will do about the same damage. So what's it? Yeah, so this matters a lot less. Just gotta overcast it, I guess. It's weird that the upgraded and normal base damage is the same, but I guess the upgraded just increased the radius. I'm not sure. I'll have to test it in game, but this could actually be pretty big for Vampire Coast. Pendulum too does half damage, and this is just its base damage. So I think it keeps its AP damage. It'll still be hitting pretty hard, but man, against Chaff though, I think Pendulum got wrecked. I think it got absolutely destroyed. Yeah. Oh, but you know, it did a lot of AP damage before, but like this is a lot of base damage that it loses. 36 on an AoE type spell. Yeah, I think that's a nice impact. We also have Pendulum upgraded, which also takes the same hit. And Sea Fang too. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Norska. Sorry, Norska, but your triple wind spell business is done for. A lot of the most powerful wind spells in the game have just gone nerfed. And a lot of the summons have gone nerfed too, which I very much appreciate, since we've been seeing those in the meta for quite some time now. Oh man, the Sea Fang AP damage gets nerfed too. So wow, huge changes all around. And man, am I excited to play dwarves for this in this patch. But with all that out of the way, that is all we have. If you actually did manage to stick around for the full hour patch note review, then thank you very much. Consider subscribing if you haven't already yet. And with that out of the way, I think we'll be closing out now. So see you guys next time.